Welcome back to Wicca and Witchcraft for Dummies. We're on chapter 3. We're doing the second part of it. We were talking about directing energy and why magic works the way that it does. Magic is actually the process of moving and directing energy in order to achieve a desired result or outcome. By working magic, Wiccans hope to make positive changes in themselves and in the world. Notice how I said positive changes. Wiccans work magic to achieve self-improvement or empowerment, to find solutions to problems, and to meet their own and others' physical, mental, or emotional needs. The purpose of a religious ritual is to understand, experience, or feel the connection to the divine. Wiccans often choose to work magic during a ritual and to invite the presence or participation of deity in the magic. However, magic is a natural force, not a religious practice. Now, this is why magic works. Everything that exists is interconnected. All reality is part of a grand circle or a web of vibrating energy. We talked about this already. The energy within the human mind is not separate from the energy in the physical world. Okay, they always tell you if you think it, you can do it. It's not separate. What is in your brain can be reproduced in the physical world. This has been proven. When a person visualizes an event or sees it as a detailed picture in the mind, he or she forms that energy into patterns. Remember the old vision boards they used to tell you to make with all the things that you wanted to have in your life and where you wanted to see yourself in 10 years, and you put them on a vision board? That's a form of magic. That's putting your intent out to the universe that that's what you want to be and that's what you want in your life. And that's creating magic. It's all the same concept. So using this, a person focuses their mental power in order to move and direct the energy toward a desired outcome. By moving and directing the energy, a person's mind can affect events or conditions in the physical world outside of the self. This process is called magic. So we've already talked about quantum physics, string theory, chaos theory, the holographic universe theory, the Gaia principle I didn't get into, but it's kind of along the same lines that the earth is the earth mother and it holds all the beings. It's a very much specific to indigenous communities, which we will get to later in the book. That's why I didn't get into it. But modern science also reveals that matter and energy are not separate. In quantum physics, particles of matter and waves of energy are actually the same thing. Scientists have found out that merely looking at these particles or waves changes their behavior. And that's no joke. Actually observing them, causing them to change. This is actually called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. You can Google that if you want to get into a whole thing with physics, but it's a little complicated. The bottom line, though, is that scientists changed reality just by observing it. So basically, there were particles that were traveling. They were observing one particle. This particle was already on its way. By the time they viewed this particle, it had changed the trajectory of this one just by being observed. It changed in the physical world just by being observed. So the bottom line is that scientists actually changed reality just by observing it. So believing that a person can use their mental power to move and direct energy isn't that far-fetched at all. Shifts in energy affect the physical world all the time. When we focus our minds, we can make change in the world, and that's why magic works. So I hope so far I haven't lost all of you, but just trying to understand what the collective consciousness means and why we tap into that collective unconscious to be able to transfer knowledge back and forth is the gist of the situation that I want you to understand. So I'm going to quickly talk about divination just as a quick blip because it helps with an understanding. So performing magic and divination are two different things. So performing magic is actually attempting to make a change in the collective consciousness or a change in the world for the positive, whereas divination is more about reading energy than actually making it or moving it. So the important point about divination is that contrary to popular misconception, the practice of divination does not foretell the future. At least not a predestined, unchangeable future. So anybody that's trying to tell you that they can tell you their future, they can tell you predictable patterns towards your future, but that future is not guaranteed. So the practice of divination simply reads the current energy that's going on right now. It reads the patterns and the energy that's happening right now. This reading may point to the way that the future might unfold if steps are not taken to alter the course of that energy by changing your behavior or making new decisions. The term divination encompasses a wide variety of techniques, including, but not limited to, the interpretation of astrology, dreams, lots, which is dice, runes, things like that, playing with the bones, natural phenomenon such as the flight patterns of birds or the falling of meteors, pendulum use, scrying, which is staring into a reflective surface or a flame like a mirror or a pool of water, tarot cards, or trance work. And yes, I said trance work, not trans. So the reason that we feel divination may work is because deity is intervening and revealing the current path, or it's pointing towards solutions or better options. So we're tapping into that collective consciousness to see if it can guide us in a better direction. Or the symbols and activities involved in divination may activate or trigger the unconscious mind to react and help solve problems, resolve issues, or establish a new, more desirable outcome for the future. So a lot of times we believe that we have the answers in our brains. Our brains are capable of computing mass equations that we never thought possible, but we can't tap into that in the conscious mind. We have to tap into it in the unconscious mind. And so we believe by using divination, we communicate with the greater consciousness to help open our own minds to help ourselves solve our own problems. So the last part I want to talk about is the sources of power, strength, and guidance. We talked about where do people pull their personal sense of power from. So in addition to deity, some Wiccans may welcome the presence or help of other types of energy forms or beings. These can involve ancestors, for example, an actual family member or someone else who's passed on. Some Wiccans contact ancestors for advice or support or to resolve outstanding emotional issues. Whether and when a person contacts ancestors depends on the person's outlook on the afterlife. Reincarnation is a commonly held belief in Wicca. However, if a soul has reincarnated, the ancestor may not be available for counsel, which is why mediums can sometimes contact your family members because they're still in the spirit world, and sometimes they cannot because they've been reincarnated. Some people get power from elementals or nature spirits. A spirit of one of the four elements, for example, the gnome for the earth, the sylph for the air, the undine for the water, and the salamander for fire. Wiccans consider the four elements and the beings that they manifest to be helpers, protectors, or allies. Nature elementals also include a vast array of creatures and beings, including fairies, which are Faeries. Wiccans hold wildly different beliefs or views on elementals and nature spirits. Some scoff and are adamant that these beings are mere superstition, and others look at you and ask and shudder if you dare to even suggest that these creatures may not exist. So depending on which tradition you were raised in, people believe in fairies, leprechauns, all of the things. Some people have great beliefs in those things and some people don't. It just depends on which area of the spectrum you're on. The Celtic peoples have much folklore about fairies and other such beings. Because Wicca does have deep Celtic roots, belief in elementals is common. Entire books are written about elementals and nature spirits as well as their varying appearances, demeanors, and behaviors. Space is way too limited here in this book to provide a meaningful discussion of all the possibilities in the historical context. There are people who gain sources of strength from familiars, which is an animal with one had a deep psychic or empathetic bond. The animal is more than a companion. It offers magical, psychic, or spiritual support. A cat is most common, although other animals may be familiars. A familiar usually, though not always, is an actual animal as opposed to a thought form that arises from the unconscious mind or an animal that one meets on another plane of existence during a trance or altered state. So a perfect example, my hand-carved wand that I made, it's not finished, and stained to the end. In the end here, you can see a wax plug. Within that wax plug are pieces of hair from both my husband and myself, as well as my two cats, who were my familiars in the real world before they passed, sadly. Their fur is inside here. So all of that energy I have sealed in here with wax, and this is where my energy comes from through my wand. So in some other traditions, like in shamanic traditions, a guardian spirit provides power, help, and protection. This spirit's often perceived as an animal or generally referred to as a power animal. Throughout time, many cultures have believed that humans and animals are related. Mythology talks about this, and many people believe that animals and humans can still communicate when a human is in an altered or shamanic state of consciousness. Some people believe in the guardians of the watchtowers. For example, some believe they're calling basic archetypal forms of energy for use during the ritual. Other people believe they're calling actual beings, spirits, or other energy forms who guard or watch the four directions, so north, south, east, and west. And some people draw their power from spirit guides. Many people refer to an ancestor, a power animal, an evolved human with the mission of helping living humans, or some other being who provides guidance and assistance. It's an all-purpose term, and the meaning depends on the intention of the person using it. So people may have spirit guides from one way or the other. Stay tuned for chapter 4.